Good morning, everybody. I hope it is a good morning for you, not a terrible one with this move down. Um, so, surprise, listening to the news, they're talking about this China land deal. I don't pay much attention to the news too much, but I never heard them talking about such a thing. Now, all of a sudden, it's a huge issue. We'll see where it goes. Yes, charts. A sec here. There we go. So we've pretty much got a measured move already in place here, give or take. It's the distance from here down to here and projecting it down here. Usually lines up at some other area of major support. I think maybe for good measure, maybe it pushes down to tag the 100 MA right there, which is in alignment with absolutely nothing. Why should it stop there? Well, maybe just because it's self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's moved a lot already. It's looking at the futures here. It's a big range day, and yeah, it just goes to show, McGraw, I don't pay that much attention to the news, but with all that, all of a sudden, today, so extended move down here at this pivot, factory work. 5-minute chart, does it begin to stabilize or just continue lower? Somewhat stabilization here, but really not a slowing in momentum between pivots yet. I mean, it hasn't, what we look for is, this move down and momentum increased. And now we'll see maybe if this breaks the low and then begins to turn, maybe a short-term move up, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop there. So set an alert at the 100. A lot of times prices push down below a prior pivot low. It's not an exact point. And what'll happen now is with this move down, assuming it closes down here, well, it's too far away to make any assumptions at the end of the week. I was thinking that the weekly chart, if it was to close below here, would violate the weekly uptrend. And just looking back on the futures anyway, that hasn't happened all year, other than that drop right there. That would be the first break of the weekly uptrend if it happens on a closing basis. So SPX levels could potentially be a no-brainer here today for some extra money than what we usually look at. So we look at the futures where they're at. They're at the pivot, easy. Let's look at spiders. And so at the pivot here is about 4%. And should it go down to the 100 MA, which would be about, with the 5% or so that many talk about, give or take, I would set an alert down there. Of course, we'll see if it begins to hold. When the market opens, it continues to drop. But the 100 MA would be about 5%. Unfortunately, there's nothing to the left in alignment with that. Now, how far down can you go here? Well, pretty far down, unless the premiums are popping. Now, so to SPX, you can go all the way down to 4,200. I mean, it's a whole number. Is it going to go down there today? Unlikely. I mean, it's here now. The 100 MA, you can see where it is, 43.26. If you go into that area, and 42.75 down here is about $2 right now. So you can go really far away to get some premium there, and you got to decide what you want to do yourself. I mean, it's a big gap down. If you were going to do 2 contracts, I would suggest maybe doing 1 and seeing if it continues to fall, because if it starts to bounce, it could start losing premium pretty quick. And obviously, there's the fear factor here. So, down there at 4,200, I would call that a no-brainer. Market going down to 4,200 and just measuring that out from high to low. it's about a 7.5% drop from there. And from Friday's close anyway, would be about a 5% drop. This just would be highly unlikely. Black Monday, who knows? But we'll see the open there. But I mean, down that far in that short a period of time, there's going to be buyers, and that is aligned with a pivot down there. So you got a pivot up above there at 42.50, and then down there's another pivot. Obviously this is violating that swing low already. Well, it's in that area. Up above, you want to bounce maybe 44.30. So being down here, 44.30 looks, well, if this made a low and bounced back up there, I wouldn't put it past this market. It's that crazy, but you got to look at things as crazy it is. What if it happened when you're putting on one of these trades? So opening here, rallying all the way back up. Well, just letting you know, about 50 cents up there last I looked. And if it rallies, well, if it does rally, it depends on how it rallies. That number could increase or stay the same. What percent stages of the market circuit breaker set again? I have no idea, Steve. I have no idea. You can go the NYSE.com and look. It's been so long, and I don't know. Yeah. 42.70, a little bit below what I mentioned, 42.75. There's good premium there. So seems unlikely, but let's see what happens here at the open. Looking at others, you've got the Nasdaq Futures. Figured they could drop down here to 15,000, just give or take. That looks like, this would be the measured move scenario. And just putting this to the side for now, just whatever, high to low. I have to grab this down there, around 4% or so. A lot of times it just pokes a little bit below, but there's nothing here. I just looked at a whole number at this point to say, all right, if this continued down, getting to 15,000, whole number, watch the 5-minute chart, see what happens here. Notice when we talk about momentum increasing or decreasing, this was an increase in momentum there. So W bottom maybe, right? So here's where, we look to the left, we look at whole numbers, we see if there's moving averages in alignment with any prior support, and look at the pattern and say, well, if it was to dip down here, drop below the low, maybe come back up, W type of bottom, which could set up a short-term bounce. And with this kind of moves, as far as it is, I see highly unlikely, well, the futures would turn into a green day. Looking at the Qs, since they're opening down here, 467 area, that's around 4% or so. And unfilled gap opens here, obviously that could turn green because it's opening here, meaning being above the opening price in short order. So factory work, look at what levels make sense, see if there's anything to the left, any moving averages in alignment, measured moves, whole numbers. We see how it unfolds. What level do we look on for internals for a buy signal? We won't know that until the end of the day thing. However, we always looking at the NYSE tick on a day like today, gapping lower. I suspect the tick could open up at a minus 1,500 or so, which would just be confirmation of a gap down. So no big deal as far as information to use as a fade. It's actually a confirmation. And when you get such a large gap down or a large gap up with that kind of tick extreme, it usually continues for a while. You may get a bounce, but then there's going to be another bout, in this case of selling, that occurs. What you could look for, and what I've mentioned this in the room multiple times, is to find out what your symbol is for sentiment. And I have this inverted. So normally, right, it goes up as there's more put buying, and set an alert at 1.3 and 1.5. So as on an intraday basis, those alerts at the total put call ratio historically would set a short-term low. So I don't know what the symbol is on TOS or TradeStation or whatever else you might be using, but look that up. Total put call ratio, set an alert at 1.3 and 1.5. On an end of day basis, we went over this in the advisory letter, and saying that, hey, there was still room to the downside. Internals weren't at an extreme yet. So we don't know where they're going to close. We'll see, if this is poked down here. And, what's been interesting about the internals is that, these bands, which were rising for a while, bearishness has been increasing slightly. You can see that these bands adjust for market environments and sentiment, created these many, many years ago. And just by looking at decades of past data, just kind of fitted the bands and they worked. And so you can see the bands are now pointing down, which is confirmation that while the markets are still going up, sentiment began to deteriorate a bit, as did breadth, by not going up into this higher area. So look, the warning signs of something happening have been there for a long time. And now here it is. So September, October, while we wake up on a Monday morning and it's like, oh, shit, whatever, the Dow's down 700-800 points or whatever it is. We knew something was lurking out there, coronavirus, China this, Joe Biden that, South border. It's crazy. Pick your reason. Dow. So, looking across different markets. Hey, Dow being down 1,000 points on a day, that sounds like a pretty good number. Where would that put us? Well, around 3360. And what we're doing here, these pre-markets, is, what could be, and helping you guys with different levels that might come into play. So, the Dow's going to open up down in this area. We look at the futures to see where they're at and say, okay, breaking through that area a bit, Dow down 1,000 points, set an alert there, see if it happens. Breaking the lows. Russell's looks like it has obviously room to keep falling. It was showing some relative strength. Now it's dropping. There's nothing to the left. Bouncing a little bit here, but there's really nothing here. So the expectation is whatever it bounces, it probably gets to the bottom of the range before this corrective process is done. And, so here's the Dow right down at this pivot. It whipped back and forth last week, red, green, craziness, the negative close, many things happen on Friday, and now it's down at this pivot. So, coming down, it's on a closing basis. The intraday point is down here, which kind of lines up with that, 1,000-point move, give or take. So, just set an alert down there. Or looked at the Russell, Bitcoin, right? Getting hit, got a bunch of converging moving averages there, some minor support, but that, it's coming down. Also, Oil is down, right? But it's had a nice move, but everything's getting sold. It's off the low here a little bit. And gold, well, gold is up there a little bit, but big deal. Gold is up against what? A giant wide range bar that it's still at the bottom. So minders or watch lists and whether things are, up or down on the day is only a starting point of recognizing money flow. Is money flowing out of this? Is money flowing into something else? So starting point, you look at the chart, you look to the left, look at the patterns, and so on. Silver, breaking lower. There is some support down there. And take a look at SLV. All right, so at the bottom there. And, well, the transports should continue lower. There was just hovering above the 200 MA, but with everything being down, they should gap down below that. And looking at the ETF, it's below the 200, but this has a lot more or different stocks than the actual cash does. So that's already below. It's got a little dot down there at 240. 240. There's really nothing there. And it had all of this time to bounce, and it couldn't. So obviously bearish that it now confirmation now because it broke lower. So we'll see how this all unfolds today and into this week. We've got FOMC and hey, it's September. Usually at some point in September, there's going to be a bounce. This might be setting up for it at some time this week. And then bounce, look at the charts. Sometimes it could be pretty sizable, which then, a little ahead of ourselves here. But, usually if this seasonal period plays out, then we get the next wave in October. So all yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, we got a lot going on here today. Even though we had a lot of bullish patterns in the weekend letter, we gave spiders as a short. Obviously, we're canceling it now. But look at, I said 15-minute higher lows. I meant 5-minute higher lows. So pre-market here, all four horsemen, as I call them, they've stabilized pre-market here. So we'll see what happens in the first 30 minutes here. But we had spiders as a directional short. We had it as a call spread. And we had IWM as a put spread over Thursday's high, which obviously that's going to be destroyed. So I think every single trade that we gave is going to be messed up. 30-minute low for things that we're in. That looks like, we had cream and we had square. They're obviously gapping down, but they're more manageable. My biggest concern is this Amazon 3,400. We got the 33.95s, so it's still out of the money, but that's an ugly gap. Of the FANG world, I don't know if this bar was real. I saw it rallying right there, but Netflix is actually a buy setup. Yeah, detective, we're in HA. Yeah, we're in it. I got short puts in it myself. But yeah, if you have an individual question on any opens, feel free to ask me. I tightened the stop on this Yala. I'm not sure if I gave it to you. 30-minute low here. This was also a short in the weekend letter. I just can't start shorting things here with the market down this much. I'm just going to tell them to hold off, just so they don't short a 5-minute low. But that was another short of ours. We have a couple bottoming patterns that I'm going to leave for now. If they trigger, then they're doing fine. All right, any other gappers here? Anything that's green is relative strength. Of the Dow 30 though, there's not a single green one. It's more of a question of what's down the least would be showing relative strength. I see Merck down 69 cents. That looks like the best one. And Cisco down 52. SDC, this was on our watch list on Friday with the gap. Actually, look at it. It's gapping up in a buy setup right now. That's not bad at all. Let's keep an eye on that. I'll put it in a 5-minute window here. Here's another green one, VSTM. Look at that little bottoming pattern. Yeah, detective, nothing wrong with that. Or, if you have multiple contracts, maybe half. And I'd wait 5 minutes just so the spreads can tighten also. And then just play it by ear. I don't know if this is going to hold. I heard Kramer. I heard Kramer saying, well, I've been telling everyone to sell. And I'm like, really? Has he? I thought he's been a penultimate bull. And then, I don't know, I'm not saying he didn't, but I found that shocking. So he's bearish now. He thinks this is going to continue. This other woman who was on there, I forget her name.
Hey, Dan, sorry to interrupt, but off topic. I just had a thought. Your brother say anything?
No, not a word.
I guess I'll play you tonight.
Yeah. And she was saying, well, she kind of said something that was kind of classical technical analysis of, and I forget who was the first person to come up with this, but she said, oh no, I was with the close below the 50 on the spiders, shot across the bow. We'll sit tight today, but if we close weak, then she said she's going to start selling too. So, I don't know. So anyway, my point is, I don't know if this selling is over. And even if it is, for how long? For a day or two or three? I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. MD on Facebook is asking about, I have a 350 short put for Friday. That's not Facebook. It's gapping down to 359. It's far from the 20. If the market holds, 350 is right at this prior low. It's bouncing pre-market here. I'd sit tight. I'd do nothing with it right now. In fact, I might keep that on my list to join you. 350s is a good choice there. But there's been no reversal yet. Oh, Greg, I don't know if you saw it for the chart of the week. I did us one on Visa here. And it just turned out that there's 3 beautiful sell setups. So it's a really good lesson there. All right, back to Vistum. It's a bottoming pattern. Today is definitely a something bar, but the gap's too big for me. Look, you got a nice bullish retest on the weekly on support. So that was a nice bottoming pattern. I scanned obviously all kinds of things over the weekend, but of the Dow 30, if this 200 was not here on IBM, then I would have shorted that. nice, downtrend, breakdown, lower low, lower high, price void. Just didn't like that 200 right there. And Verizon's at a prior low. Let's look at that. Zen here. We were short this last week, and we had a nice little trail there. And when I was doing the weekend trade review, I said, wow, I didn't recognize that thing did 100% retracement like that. So if this can now go sideways for a while and build a right shoulder, then this is a I was just looking at some alarms here. Oh, I can't. So we'll keep an eye on this. So invert could be an inverse head and shoulder. Nike looked bearish and lower, but it has earnings this week. Arval. All right, so this was a bottoming pattern, but it has to get over yesterday's high. SOL is a bottoming pattern. Set an alarm, yesterday's high. Spot. I gave this as a directional. All right, so we're, I don't think we're going to have a single trade that's going to be valid. And I just lost connection. See, Q, what did I tell you? That I had no idea if this would hold. The Qs are already under the pre-market low. All right, come on, data. What's wrong with you? Trio, that's another bottoming pattern. I'm just going to cancel every single trade. I think my alarms are going off. IAA was a 1, 2, 3. IIVI was a short. You know what? Look at the weekly has room. And now the Qs just snap right back to the high. What kind of craziness is that? Unless my data is not right. But that still looks good as a short. Is that real? That tail? All right, so this now it's only 932. But that's bullish right now. If it holds this bullish, and we will be looking to sell puts today. And Greg, it's just as a reminder, we can also do 0 DTE on Qs.
Sure.
I'm just reminding you that they exist now. Here, let's see what we can get. Spider 430. It's too aggressive to do it right now, but just shopping.
How far away?
At 430. $430 is only 33 cents. I kind of thought it would be double that.
330 or 430? You said Qs?
No, Spider 430.
Oh.
430 is only 33 cent bid. Qs, let me look. I don't know, maybe 363 would be far enough. No, 362 is only 19 cents. Let's see, Facebook.
350.
When would you close it? or roll it. I'm not a big one on rolling because everything we do is based on the chart. So I can't give you a blanket answer. Everything we do is based on the chart.
Well, you answered the guy on Facebook, Dan.
Yeah.
So MDB, if you're short that put, there's lots of support at 350. Buy it.
Buy what?
If they put it to you.
Oh, right. Okay. I just wanted clarification.
Yeah.
No, but if you don't want to own the stock, but then yes, that's when you would roll it. You know, maybe because that's a cow. That's going to be a margin cow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you would roll it, when you still like the compellingness of the pattern is when you roll it. All right, I'm just canceling everything here.